I am in Americana Manhasset. It is otherwise colloquially named Miracle Mile. It is probably one of the poshest strip malls in anywhere in the United States. You have the most expensive stores here with the greatest overpriced merchandise imaginable. I'm serious. So while we are in this highly overpriced area, I think it's perfectly appropriate, especially right here in front of Tiffany's, to discuss negotiating prices when you are a buyer, meaning you're trying to buy something. How do you get the best prices? Now, you could obviously utilize this information in the inverse and use it when you're selling something to sell it for the greatest price, but we're gonna focus on getting the best deals when you buy things. The first thing that's totally obvious is don't shop right here. This is where you get the worst deals. So the first thing you gotta do is decide what it is that you're buying and how much are you ready to spend. You have to know what is the common high price and common low price for that item. And I'll explain that in a moment. There is something called buyer's markets and seller's markets. A buyer market is something where people get the lowest prices commonly. Things sell for low price. Then there is seller's markets. Seller's markets is places that command, seller's markets command the greatest prices. So when you sell something, you want to sell it in a seller's market, and when you buy something, you want to buy it in a buyer's market. You need to know what your product goes for in both the seller's market and the buyer's market, the low price and the high price. If you can find a buyer's market and seller's market for the exact same product, then you get, hello. Hi. Then you get a, it's your birthday?
Yes.
Happy birthday, yay. Then you get a arbitrage situation where you can win the spreads. What that means is you keep buying things from the buyer's market and reselling them on the seller's market, and the difference is your spread, and that's your profit margin. Okay, that's called an arbitrage business. That's for another day, but it's an important concept to understand when you're when you're trying to negotiate prices. So, wow, this is beautiful. Bulgari and other stuff in there. Okay, so the next thing you want to understand is how hungry are you and how hungry is your seller? That's the first thing. If you are the type of person who needs this object so badly that if you don't have it, you're going to be hungry for whatever reason, that makes you in a really poor position to negotiate prices. Okay, you cannot have FOMO, fear of missing out. If you do, you are going to be in a very poor position to negotiate very strongly. Oh, there's a McLaren driving by. There you go. If you have FOMO and you can't afford to not get the product that's going to be a challenge to negotiate. You have to be ready to walk away from the table. The same goes for the seller. You have to understand how hungry they are. Are they going to find another buyer easily if you don't buy it? How much time do you think you can stall before they will find another buyer? Meaning that if you don't buy it today and you sleep on the idea, will someone else buy it tomorrow? Or will they sit on that object for 6 more months because nobody else wants it? You're the only buyer. That amount of urgency that comes out of the seller is necessary. Knowing how much urgency the seller has to get rid of the item is key. If they are hungry for the money and they don't have another buyer lined up, kind of like you don't even know where you're gonna sell that thing if you don't I'm not expressing that well. If the seller doesn't know where they're gonna actually get it sold, should you walk away from the deal of not buy it from them, then you're in a really strong position because that person doesn't have any idea how to actually turn that into money other than you buying it. Turn the object into money. So that's a great position to be in. You got to figure out how hungry they are. If you know they are very hungry, literally hungry, maybe they need money for their rent, and you buying this object pays their rent, then you're in a position to play stalling tactics. time is on your side. Now, what that means is, if you sell them, I gotta think about it, because they give you a price that you don't really think is so great. And you say, I gotta think about it, I'll come back, and you're ready to walk away. Sometimes you physically walk away, you literally look like you're leaving, and then all of a sudden the price comes down, because they know that if you walk away, they might get evicted because they need your money to pay the rent. All right, that's a great position. I've had people literally run after me physically, like actually come after me. Wait, hold on. Come here, let's sign the papers, you know, whatever. All right, so it's important to know how hungry the seller is, and you have to know yourself how hungry you are, and can you find another object and just walk away from this one? Are you comfortable with that? Now, if you can walk away, that's always the best position to be in. And if the seller can't afford to lose you as a buyer, that's a great position. If they are in dire need of money, that's even a better position. However, if you think that they could find another buyer if you don't buy it, then you really don't have time on your side and can't play that game strong. But there's other games you can play. Now, let's say you got a seller who has really an analytical mind. He's trying to crunch numbers. He's trying to get the best dollar value for his object, and he's sitting there analytically figuring this out with a calculator. Could I still make money at this rate? Tell me, you know, that kind of thing. Then you want to kind of utilize what you know about them against them. And what that means is, if you have ADHD, this is the time to use that to your advantage. Because people with ADHD tend to think about 16 different things at once, and here's where you're going to use it. Because people don't have ADHD can't usually do that. So what you're going to do is you're going to do what they say in Yiddish, kibitzing. Kibitzing means talking about any old nonsense. Nothing of value. You're not talking about anything of value. You're just talking about nothing. And when you kibitz enough, you distract the person's thoughts, and they can't be overly analytical and start gauging, is this a good deal, is this not a good deal? So my example is like this. The guy tells you a price, let's see, what it is, Louis Vuitton, okay? This Louis Vuitton bag up there, over there, I don't know, it's probably $10,000, but I'm gonna, we're on Miracle Mile here. But in reality, let's just pretend it's $100 because that makes the math better. Let's say he says $100 for that Louis Vuitton bag. You don't really want to pay 100, you want to pay like 50, okay? I'm gonna try to walk through this restaurant without shouting, so my voice might get a little quiet for a moment. All right, so you want to pay 50, he wants 100. How do you make that work? All right, I'm literally in an outdoor restaurant. This is kind of crazy to film like this. All right, so now he wants to get that $50 down, and he's sitting there crunching the numbers, and he thinks he's going to lose money at $50. He doesn't even want to sell it at that price. What you could do is start talking about, oh, that bag looks great. Have you been selling bags a while? Have you been doing this? Have you doing that? Just start talking about left field things that take place, okay? It doesn't even matter what you're saying. It doesn't even matter what it is you're saying, but yeah.
What's your channel? What's your channel?
So he wants to sell it to you for 100, you want to pay 50, and he's busy trying to figure out, can he still make money with it? So you're going to use your ADHD skills and keep him busy talking about any old nonsense that you can keep his mind preoccupied, because you already know the numbers. You don't need to concentrate on it. He's trying to concentrate. You're trying to distract him. Keep him going. Talk about, oh my God, that's the most beautiful mannequin I've ever seen in my life. I love mannequins. It could be any old nonsense. You're not doing it for any functional conversational reason. You're legit doing it just to keep him distracted. That's the main point. To distract him, keep his mind busy, and then he can't think straight to do the analytical stuff. When you kibitz enough with the seller and you get them talking to you about nothing and everything under the sun other than negotiation, and keep them mentally preoccupied and busy, there's one more thing you're doing. You are getting them committed. They have now invested their time into you. Hopefully you're likable enough that they even like you and they enjoyed their time spent with you. Now, why is that important? Because after they invested all that time and spent that effort, that emotional effort to bond and connect with you verbally, at that point they do not want to walk away empty-handed. If they don't have you as a buyer, they will feel like they lost out and lost their time that they invested in trying to make that sale. You got to get them committed and invested. That is a major factor. There is a lot of sales tactics that try to keep people going as long as possible. I don't personally use those, but I do use things where time is on my side, where I keep the flow going long enough to make sure that I'm going to close that sale if I really want it. And if I don't care and I have enough comfort zone because I could find another place to buy this thing from, and I'm not overly hungry, then I will do the opposite. I will tell them I'm going to sleep on it and see how hungry they are and let them come down in price if they want to close this deal today. That's another tactic. Sometimes you get a different type of person. Hey, here's Brooks Brothers. They unfortunately filed Chapter 11. Glad to see they're still here though. Oh no, they're boarded up. Never mind. Anyway, so now another tactic you could do if you get a person who has an emotional side to them, you got to read your seller. Whoa, that's a Tesla from the underside. Okay, yeah, it's the Tesla store. Look at that. Okay, now if the person is an emotional type of person and you think that they are gonna respond to this, here's another cool tactic to try. He tells you the price of 100, you say, I want 50, I only want what's fair. I'm only looking for a fair price. What is the problem with that statement? Why is that so emotionally manipulative? I'll explain momentarily after I look at these sheep. Cute. Okay, so it's emotionally manipulative to do that. It's a tactic because what it is you're implying that his $100 price is not fair. That's it. And people want to have things fair. And if you're implying that what he's asking is not fair, but you're not confronting him with it, you're saying, I only want what's fair, that is a really strong tactic because he can only respond in two ways. Meet you at your proposed fair price, or tell you in a confrontational manner, contradicting you, no, what I had was fair, which is contradictory. And people human nature does not want to contradict people. So it's interesting that way. You're putting the seller in a very uncomfortable position psychologically when you do that. It's a weird tactic, very manipulative. I don't personally use that tactic because I don't like to manipulate people. I've been told I'm a strong enough negotiator as it is. Like I intimidate people when I negotiate price. I've been told that many times. I get good prices for things, so it works. Key lesson when you're talking prices, whoever mentions the number first always loses. Always. This is a lesson that whoever says that first number, they are going to lose. And I'll explain that momentarily, but I want to first point out a caveat to that. Don't go crazy with avoiding saying a number, because if you go too far, the seller will get frustrated and walk away. So you kind of, holy cow. There's a person on the other side of that, sculpture person. Okay, so the idea is like this. The first person who throws out the number gives the ballpark of where you're negotiating from. That ballpark isn't what you want to be, okay? If you are the buyer, let's say, and you say, I want this item for 100, now the seller's either going to probably take your money or tell you a higher number. However, now work in reverse. If the seller had in his mind to sell it for 80 bucks, you just spent $20 more than you needed to. And you may even got them down lower. Okay, whoever throws out the first number always loses. Kind of got to avoid that. If you are pressed hard enough by the seller to give you that, to give the first number, give in, but give a number that's a little bit below what you were aiming for. So that way there's some negotiation room. Sometimes you have a seller who is very adamant about not messing with the price. They want to get what they want to get. In their mind, that's fair. And those kind of sellers are a little bit harder to negotiate, but you still can. The secret is like this. Know what cards you have and what you can play with and what assets you can mess with and what you can't. You get a seller like that, you can't negotiate the price down. If you are comfortable paying that price, that's fine, but now you can start negotiating for value add. That's a horse, isn't it? Yes, it is. Didn't expect to see a horse. Okay. You can now negotiate for value add, which means, let's say you are going to buy this Prada store, the real estate for it, right? There it is, Prada. Okay, you're buying this Prada store real estate. The seller of the store has no intention of going down in price, but you say, I want these horses, which let's pretend they're fine art, which I don't think they are, to be included in the sale. Meaning you're not asking for a lower price, but you're getting more value for your money. Or in the case of Prada, yes, I'll buy the store for your asking price, but these bags and all the inventory must come with it. See, you're not negotiating down. He thinks he's still getting the same amount of money, but in reality, he's getting much less value because he's got to give you a lot more with the sale. So it's called value add. You kind of hit them at the end. If he doesn't want to go down in price, then you take more for your money. It's just as simple as that. And make it worth your while. Always make the deals worth your while, okay? If you can't get the money that you want, then make it worth your while. You can apply that actually to a lot of negotiation. I mean, even getting a job. I know somebody who used to have the outlook, and I respect it very much, never turned down a job offer. That was his outlook. You just make it worth your while, the job offer. So he once got a job offer in a place that he had no intention of being neighborhood-wise. It was safety-wise. He didn't want the job, but he said to himself, rather than say no, I'm gonna say an amount of money that I'm ready to put up with that. And I want you to lease me a car as part of the job offer. Give me a car, a company car, and give me this amount of money, and then I'll do it. And believe it or not, they said yes, and he worked there for several years. So that's the whole thing. Never say no to an offer. Just make it worth your while. There's another aspect. One final tip for how to really nail that negotiation down. Okay, let's say you are ready to buy, I don't know, this Tiffany's bracelet in the window. The price is $10,000. I'm throwing it out there. You look at the bracelet and you go, wait a minute, that's not platinum, that's steel. All of a sudden you've pointed out a negative that wasn't obvious. Something that wasn't obvious. You're buying a car. Oh gosh, I just realized this car doesn't have airbags if it's like a 1990s car before they were legal, standard. Just pick out any flaw. You can plan it in your head or do it spontaneously. It doesn't matter. Just pick any random flaw. You're going to use that as leverage to get that last little bit. Oh, what can you do? It doesn't really have the same characteristics that it was supposed to have. In the ad, it didn't say that this was that it was steel instead of platinum. I just assumed, you know, it's Tiffany's. It's got to be a platinum ring. Whatever the logic is. Okay, you're buying that jacket. Oh gosh, this leather is made out of pig hide. I thought it was, you know, fine leather. What is this? And at that point, you put the seller in a position of uncertainty. They're not sure if you're gonna walk right then and there, and they're ready to throw it out. Now, I usually, at that point, don't even ask for a figure of money. Can I go this way? No. Oh yeah, there's more lighting. Okay. I usually don't ask for more money at that point. I usually let them suggest it, and whatever it is they suggest, I go with that figure. And oh, this is too dark here. I'm gonna go back that way. Whatever they suggest, I'm ready to take at that point. So what I'm talking about, like, let's say you got a camera you're buying for $500. You point out, it's not really focusing the way it was advertised, but in your head, you know you still want it. Instead of paying the guy, what can you do about it? Can you do something with the price? I mean, I thought it would focus better than this, but I still kind of want it, but I'm not sure. And at that point, depending on how hungry the seller is, they're gonna knock off something or a lot. It depends how hungry they are. I've had instances where they knock off 5%. I've had instances where they come down like a lot because they realize you're gonna walk, or they think so anyway. That's the whole key. So at that point, be ready to take that money, because if you don't, then they're gonna get frustrated, the seller, and you're done. And then that'll be the end of the negotiation. You can only push it to a point. You have to read that seller. And there are times, by the way, if you are hungry for that product and don't think you could easily replace it, that you should just throw the towel in and accept it. If you think that the value's there because you're gonna make money with it all other ways. I bought a vehicle where I didn't negotiate at all, and vehicles is like common, everyone asks for a lower price. This particular one was extremely low price to begin with and high quality vehicle, and I knew that I could always flip it and get 100% of my money back in a seller's market. Where I was buying this was lower price than all the other ones to begin with, and the seller voiced to me verbally while we were discussing the vehicle, I'm glad you came here. I wasn't looking for someone who was gonna start bargaining down. I know what I got, I know the value of it. And I said to myself, this guy, if I try to bargain him down, I'm gonna lose him. So instead, I got him to throw some random junk in. I think he gave me a new car battery or something. I had a little bit of value up, okay? Added the value, upped it with a value add. But other than that, I took it at face value, and then I could flip the car and make money with it anyway. So there's no need to negotiate. There's a time to throw in that towel and make the seller happy, because sometimes you ask, well, you can ask them straight up, what is the lowest amount of money you'd sell this for? I do that a lot, actually, negotiation-wise, because I don't really want to waste anybody's time. If they're gonna say some number that is unreasonably high, I'm gonna walk. And let's see if they chase me. As simple as that. It makes the negotiation process quicker, okay? I don't wanna waste my time negotiating things with someone who isn't gonna come down at all. Oh God, I'm in a shadow, hold up. Okay, I want to negotiate with people who are ready to play, or I'm ready to pay what they're asking. I don't need to waste anyone's time, you know? So that's the whole thing. Know when there's times to negotiate and times to throw in the towel and just accept it, because you're gonna make money in other ways. And on those fine words from Americana Manhasset, otherwise known as Miracle Mile, in the extraordinarily affluent part of Long Island, New York. See you in the next video. Please subscribe, share this with everybody, whether they are people you know who are just terrible at negotiation, or if they are master negotiators who want to critique what I'm saying and add to it. Throw it in the comments. All right, I'll see you all in the next video. Please share, like, and subscribe.
Yeah!